This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily English Premier League podcast brought to you by the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Louie Easton and I'm on my own today. Probably because the other members of the Daily Liverpool podcast couldn't bring themselves to get onto this podcast, and completely understand that. So I've had to make the both brave and stupid decision to come on here on my own as we look into what went wrong against Newcastle. I don't even know where to start. Okay, the way I'll do this is I'll concentrate on the first half, then I'll concentrate on the second half, and then later you can hear input from the other ones who are Liverpool fans who are utterly devastated, like me, as I'm sure you can imagine, as they give their verdicts into what went wrong. Okay, right, let's get into this. So the first half, it was pretty flat from the way I saw it. There was no runners. Everyone was sort of just, staying in their position and not really working hard enough in order to create chances. There was absolutely no cutting edge, and our attack was completely blunted by, that terrific Newcastle defence. And Tino Livramento, a player who we all know about, coming in for Lewis Hall, who has been probably the best left back in the league this season, covering Mo Salah, and he did a terrific job. Mo Salah, not just in the first half, but in the entire match, didn't get anywhere near the goal. And Kieran Trippier, who was heavily involved throughout the game, I'm amazed he played the entire 90 minutes, considering his awful hamstring injury when Newcastle were getting closer to victory. It was quite an admirable... I'm sorry. Okay, let me just get this straight. Newcastle were terrific. They wanted it more than us. They ran more than us, and they deserved it more than us. There's no way around it. I'm not going to be bitter about it, because I'm very pleased for Newcastle, and there are very many teams I would much rather... I would much hate for us to lose to more than Newcastle. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. Their defence covering our attack. I mean, Kieran Trippier, I just was talking about him. The way he covered Luis Diaz made it very difficult for us to break through. And, Dan Burn getting that goal on the stroke of half-time, I'll talk about that later, but able to deal with the pressure very well. I thought we were very flat. That it was shocking, because I understand that earlier in the week we had the 120 minutes played against PSG, but we knew this final was coming, and they've had plenty of time to prepare for it, and they just were miles off it today. Every single player on the pitch, I thought, in the second half, apart from the subs that came on, were looking far from their best. Looking at the lineup, it's pretty unchanged from that PSG side. Apart from Kwanzaa, who's starting out of position at right back, and I have a ton of sympathy for Jarrell playing out of position. This is his first season where he's been played at right back at all, because we're so used to seeing him in the centre of the defence. Didn't provide too much of a threat going forward, but that's just not his game. We had no Gomez, we had no Trent, we had no Conor Bradley, and Jarrell's had to come in, and he didn't have the best game, but I don't think anyone really expected him to provide that much of an attacking threat. And Kelleher came in. He made a couple of very good saves. There was that one in the second half quite early on where there was the disallowed goal from Isak, which he parried out. He made a couple of other ones as well from my memory. Obviously, I haven't looked back at the game because I've just not been able to bring myself to do that yet. But, I think the only ones that showed any character in that first half were Virgil van Dijk, as he always, always, always does. Andy Robertson, I thought, was terrific in that first half, really trying to make things happen down the left-hand side. And it was clear that was where we were going to get luck, if we were to get any luck, down that left-hand side, because Kwanzaa just didn't provide that support for Salah. Robertson provided plenty of support for Luis Diaz, and he had other players around him helping out. But I was so disappointed in our midfield and Diogo Jota for not having any attacking threat. A couple of people who I was speaking to were saying that this is probably the end of Diogo Jota's time at Liverpool. He just hasn't been the same since he came back from injury. He's one of these players that we've seen so often, players that sort of false number 9 come back and help out in midfield. He didn't do that today. He was just goal hanging, and it didn't really come to him. He had a half chance when the ball came into him. He managed to touch it, and I can't remember who it was that covered him, but he got a pretty weak shot away from what I remember. And yeah, that's basically it for the first half. Dan Burns scored that goal right on the brink. And, there were a couple of other times where Dan Burn got the header, and we were thinking, why is Alexis McAllister marking him? Because Virgil van Dijk and Konate were standing sort of on the edge of the goalkeeper's box. And, they were just sort of waiting for the ball to come in so they could head it out. But Newcastle were wise to that. I can't remember who it was that took the corner, sorry. It might have been Kieran Trippier. But the ball came in. It was really lofted over to the back. And, Dan Burn is huge. He's absolutely massive. 6'6", 6'7", whatever he is. And tons of experience from heading balls in at the corner. And you've got Alexis McAllister. Granted, he's a very clever player who's always played in a role where, or in a sort of sense where he doesn't rely on being the most tall, but the most strong, maybe, and aggressive into tackle. It's a complete mismatch. And when the ball came in, Alexis McAllister was nowhere to be seen. He was already thinking about half-time at that point, and it's just inexcusable. In a cup final. It's a cup final. And you don't want to mark players. I know he shouldn't have been marking him in the first place, but at least give it a go. It makes no sense to me. So, anyway, that was the end of the first half. And then the second half came along, and Newcastle just started the second half incredibly well, and Liverpool just didn't. And I was hoping, after conceding right on the brink of half-time, you're going to have that team talk in there, and, Arne Slot is going to be demanding so much of these Liverpool players. They came out, and not a thing had changed. I thought everyone was dreadful. Even Ryan Gravenberch, he's been one of our best players in midfield this season, and the amount of times he misplaced a pass or got dispossessed. In fact, that's not just him. We couldn't even get out of our own third. Whenever we were trying to escape our own third, the ball would often go out for a throw-in, or it would go straight back to a Newcastle midfielder who had been pressing for it. And then Isak scores the goal, and by that point, we're all thinking, oh, yeah, that's it. That's it. The final's gone. They want it more than us. They're just going to sit back. And they won the midfield battle fairly, and it wasn't even a competition. Then we made the changes. So who went off? I'm trying to remember. It was Konate and it was Diogo Jota, and on went Darwin Núñez and Curtis Jones. Respectfully, taking off a centre-back for Curtis Jones just isn't going to work. You're going to put Gravenberch in centre-back, who hasn't been great defensively for the entire game, and you're relying on him to take the ball out and move to start a counter-attack. It didn't work. Shock. Absolute shock on my face. Darwin Nunez, his role is staying inside of the penalty area, and I think the ball only came to him about once. And yeah, he basically bounced off his foot and went straight to Nick Pope, who did his usual of lying on the ball. Curtis Jones had that one chance, which was set up wonderfully for him, but with that incisive pass of Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott and Federico Chiesa, by the way, absolutely exceptional when they came on. They deserve to be playing so much more this season. They were the ones that were showing character, and I was so made up for Federico Chiesa when he got his goal right at the end. I just hope he plays more for the rest of the season, especially if he does go in the summer, which I feel like would be a mistake, especially since now Diaz is being heavily linked with a move to Barcelona. Gakpo came on a little bit later as well, and he did absolutely nothing. It's harsh to be so critical of a player who's just recently come back from injury, and the only time he played was during that really difficult loss to PSG earlier in the week, and he was sort of sticking to the left-hand side and being ganged up on by multiple Newcastle players whenever he got the ball. He just didn't have an answer for it. He didn't see the sort of incisiveness and that technical ability to be able to cut in on his right and fire across or a shot in at the back posts. And he was probably the worst player towards the end. I have to say, it was. He really didn't cover himself in a lot of glory for the rest of that game. Then we got the goal right at the end, which was very frustrating because it felt like we had some sort of historical miracle on the cards. And then the linesman ruled it offside, which was just, like, how do you think that's offside? He was a yard on, and it kind of took the entire sting out of the game because they took so long to check, not only for the offside, but for the tackle made by Harvey Elliott to set up that through ball for Chiesa's goal. And it was just, I was screaming, to be completely honest. I was absolutely screaming my lungs out when they were taking so long with the VAR, because you know what these officials are like. They'll spend more time looking at the VAR than they actually give for time given back to the actual match when it's a final. And I was just utterly frustrated by that. But there we go. The game ended shortly after that because they were just keeping it in the corner the entire time. Again, screaming at Tonali, screaming at Joe Willock, I think it was, who came on, Callum Wilson as well, all lying on the ball at the corner flag. Especially Tonali. My goodness me, he was... I could say some awful things about that man. Great player, though. And yeah, there we go. Newcastle got their first major trophy after 70 years. Credit to them. They wanted it more. I think those Liverpool players have to hold their head in shame. They're going to go off to their international breaks now. They're going to represent their country, and they need to reset, because this last week, at least with PSG, they were better than us on the way they were playing. They just outclassed us. With this one, it just seemed like we didn't even try. Completely flat, no incisiveness, no direction, just hopeless. Utterly hopeless. And yeah, I'm pretty speechless now after all that. So I think it's time that we take a well-needed break before we get some reaction from some of the other boys here on Daily Liverpool. But first, it's time to hear from our sponsors.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right level to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr. Right, and we are back reviewing the catastrophe that happened at Wembley Stadium yesterday by the time you're listening to this. And we got some reaction from, firstly, Jesse Sarwar. Let's see what he has to say.
Jesse Sarwar with my thoughts on a really disappointing loss in today's League Cup final. This was about as tepid a performance as I can ever remember from a Liverpool team in a cup final, and I've seen a fair few. Disappointing to concede the set-piece goal from Dan Burn because, it was coming to have McAllister marking him on corners. I think we were just really asking for trouble, and I'm really surprised that we didn't change our defensive structure for those set pieces. Because those corners were just coming, and you just knew that we were going to concede at some point. Look, at the same time, I don't want to be overcritical of this team, given what they've already given us this season, and we are still on course for the Premier League title. But in today's game, it just looked like we've run out of gas, and maybe this is something that Arne Slot and the recruitment team will really take note of as they prepare for what could and should be a huge summer for Liverpool in the transfer market. Slot has pretty much relied on a very settled starting 11. Every week on the podcast, we do a predicted lineup before each game. And that section has become shorter and shorter as the season has gone on, simply because we know who is going to be in that starting lineup. And I think that is partly due to the fact that I don't think he trusts his squad players. The likes of Harvey Elliott, the likes of Federico Chiesa. We looked toothless up front. And if Mohamed Salah is not firing, then the other forwards are just not stepping up in the way that Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino would in the past. I think that in terms of a team selection for today's game, there weren't too many surprises. The biggest one for me was Kelleher. Now, it's not to say that Kelleher could have done anything about the goals that we conceded, but I do think that it was very obvious that his distribution is not as strong as Alisson's. So whenever Alisson gets the ball, he's very, very quick to start Liverpool on an attack. And if he goes long when he's looking for any of the attackers, it's with pinpoint accuracy. Whereas Kelleher's, he tends to kind of launch it long and it's not really directed. And so more often than not, we kind of lose possession and we're back on the back foot again. So I think that was one area that didn't help the cause. I'm not saying that it made a material difference in terms of the result, but I do think that Alisson, for me, I think you've got to start with your best players, and Alisson is your best goalkeeper. I do think that Harvey Elliott should have come on before Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones, look, he's a scouser. I love some of the things that he's done in the past, but I just don't think that he's good enough. I think today was as frustrating as ever. And I'm not talking about, funnily enough, the chance that he missed. Yes, he should have put it away. But for me, the most frustrating thing about Curtis Jones is the fact that he just doesn't release the ball quickly enough. Now, it's okay if you're winning 2-0 or 3-0 and you want to keep hold of the ball. But we weren't. We were losing 2-0 and you need to move the ball quicker. And so when he dilly-dallies on the ball, he just hangs on possession, that's when he gets caught out. He gets caught in possession too much. And I just thought it was a really frustrating performance from Curtis Jones. And Diogo Jota, love him as I do, once again, he was anonymous. And, there might be real question marks over his future, given not just in terms of his form, but I think it's his injury record as well, that you have to factor in 2-3 months out every season. So I think that could be something that Liverpool will look at in the summer. But well done to Newcastle. Thoroughly deserved winners. And look, there are a few Newcastle players that Liverpool would do well to target in the summer. There's obviously been a lot of speculation over Alexander Isak, who's an obvious one. There's been a lot of speculation over Anthony Gordon, who's a Scouser, he's a Liverpool supporter. And I would support him coming into the club. And I think that he would be a really, really good addition on those wide flanks. But I tell you something, Bruno Guimaraes, who I think has been immense for Newcastle, not just today, but all season. I think he would be an absolutely phenomenal addition to our midfield. And I can see him playing next to McAllister. I can see him playing next to Gravenberch. Maybe we can do a swap deal and they can have Curtis Jones. But look, a bad day, a bad week, but let's not have any more of this nonsense that I'm hearing from opposition supporters and pundits that this is somehow turning into a bad season. This is Arne Slot's first season and we are still odds on to win the Premier League. So look, let's get the players back after the international break. Let's make these last 9 games a party. Let's bring a party atmosphere to every game on the way to what should be league title number 20.
Well, that was Jesse Sawa. Loads to unpack from that. First, let's start off with that Curtis Jones remark where he said he's not good enough. Listen, we all still remember when Curtis Jones came up at Liverpool, scoring that goal on his debut in the FA Cup against Everton. I mean, what a goal that was as well. I'm sure he will cherish that moment forever. On the basis of him not being good enough for Liverpool Football Club, that seems a little bit harsh. He's had some great performances in the Liverpool shirt. He's scored plenty of goals for us, and he's in the England squad as well now. I just think, I just think he's a versatile enough player to the point where you kind of have to keep him based on the fact that he will be willing to do a job for you anywhere on the pitch. I still remember when we had that injury crisis and he played left back for us in last season, and I haven't forgotten how dreadful those times were. I mean, that's probably a much worse season than this one, even though we won the Carabao Cup. But no, I just think it would be foolish to give up on Curtis Jones. I think he has improved with his distribution on the ball. He's very good in between the lines when he's moving forward on a counter-attack, but he was finding himself at the back four at times during the final sort of 10-15 minutes yesterday. So I wouldn't be as quick to give up on him. As for Kelleher, he makes a very good point about his distribution, and this very well may be the last time we ever see Quavine Kelleher in a Liverpool shirt, considering the fact we are getting Georgi Marashvili in the summer, and Kelleher likely to move on from Liverpool. We'll always remember the great memories he's created for us. I mean, that Mbappe save earlier this season definitely won't be forgotten in a hurry. And he makes an excellent point. Assuming we win the league, I mean, everyone is jumping to this whole, we've won the league, so therefore it's a good season. We haven't won the league yet. We've still got 9 matches to go, and we're 12 points clear. So there definitely still could be a slip up there. I don't want to jump to that, and I have been jumping to it myself, so that is slightly hypocritical. I just want to go back on that, take a step back, take a breather, and just do what Liverpool desperately need to do and regroup. But any of this slander from our rivals saying, this has been a terrible season, bottled it all in 1 week. We haven't bottled it all. There's still time to bottle it all, but we haven't. So if we win the league, and it looks increasingly like we are probably going to win the league, then that is a successful season. And I think any of us would have taken the outcome of this season before the season began. So yes, we just need to go for that now. And there's plenty going on once we come back from this international break. We've got a massive Merseyside derby upon our return. Then we've got Fulham a few days later at Craven Cottage, and then an unpredictable West Ham go to Anfield as well. A couple of Sunday fixtures in a row there. And we've still got all of the London matches: Spurs at home, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home. That will be a good one. Hopefully we can get that guard of honour by the time we go back there. Let's hear from someone else now on the match. Tom Goward, this is, who has been very critical of some of Liverpool's recent performances. This should be good fun.
Hi Louie, it's Tom Goward giving my thoughts on the abysmal performance from Liverpool today in the Carabao Cup final. I thought Slot got it wrong from the start. I think the team, albeit Keller has played in this competition and he said that he probably would play, but I think the form Alisson's in right now, I don't think Kelleher could have done much about the goals today, but albeit it's just sort of, you put your best teams out for the best games. I think the two up top at the moment in Diaz and Jota are just not good enough, not Liverpool standard. We know how good they have been, but we're sort of getting into the business end, definitely in the business end of the season now. Had a chance to win our first silverware under Slot and they just didn't perform. Like I said about Slot, so the team was wrong at decision making. Who thought it'd be a great idea to put Alexis McAllister, probably our smallest player, on the pitch, marking Dan Burn. That cost us a goal. I think the defence didn't have a great game, and I think that shows in Kanate coming off. I thought Jarell Konza was good considering he's playing out of position. Again, Slot putting like Graham and Birch centre back and sort of changing it around. I know he's going after the game. I think the rotation from him in the last few weeks has been poor. Chiesa coming on today, playing 12 minutes, winning 3 free kicks, scoring the goal. Another shot on target, I believe he had as well. Harvey Elliott coming on, getting the assist for the goal. I know these players are coming off the bench to change games, but what do they have to do to start playing some games, from the off? So I think he got that all wrong. I think that was his first test in the Liverpool as a Liverpool manager, and I think he's failed it massively today. Disappointed. All credit to Newcastle. I thought they were great. Their fans were great. The Liverpool fans were poor. He went along with the performance on the pitch, really, but the Newcastle players were up for it. The Newcastle fans were up for it, and they're deserving winners. Let's just hope now that we can sort of come back from the international break and focus on winning the league. We were out of all competitions, which would be not quite nice. The players should have about week breaks off, which will be good. But I think this result has been coming in the last few weeks. We were lucky to beat PSG away from home when we did, but we weren't great in that game. Then we played Southampton that weekend, and conceded first to them, and managed to just win by having 2 penalties. Then we obviously lost to PSG after 120 minutes in the week, and then losing tonight. So I sort of feel like this was building up and coming. Let's hope the players don't go away, get injured, come back, and then they can fight for the title, which should rightly be ours. Cheers, Louie.
Wow, plenty to talk about there, as I imagine. Our fans were poor, is what I'm going to take away from that. I disagree on the basis that we were losing 2-0 and had played awfully all game, and there was still You'll Never Walk Alone going on in the stadium. I mean, I wasn't there, and I don't know if Tom was or not, but I'm going to disagree with him on that. I just think the Newcastle fans are, rightfully so, were absolutely fantastic. Just don't trash Covent Garden again. That's my advice. As for Chiesa and Elliott, I just want to hit you with this stat. Neither of them have started a single Premier League game all season. We've got 9 to go. They deserve to start some more matches. Chiesa's only played 25 minutes in the Premier League. He's got 2 goals for us in the cup competitions. One of them against Accrington Stanley, and one of them against Newcastle. I think a lot of people were very harsh on him after the Plymouth game because Plymouth did just sit back with 5 at the back, and he was quite isolated on the left wing during that game, and he was trying to make stuff happen. And, you always have to take risks in football. He did take some risks, and credit to him for trying stuff. Just didn't work on that one. But I think everyone's starting to warm to him again with that goal. He also got that ball through as well, which he had the one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Cher came and tackled him after that. And then there was the Harvey Elliott pass for Federico Chiesa, and it felt like poetic justice when it had gone in, because those two have given their all every single time they have come on for Liverpool Football Club, and both of them love the club to bits. You can tell that easily. Work so hard. They honestly, I don't know what you need to do to impress Arne Slot, but that man is so stubborn. He will not rotate the squad, and he just threw everything. He threw everyone who had a remote amount of experience in front of goal on towards the end of that game, and those were the two that combined. So I'm with Tom on this one. I really hope they get some more minutes. Okay, finally, we'll go to Carl Kopak. It will be very interesting to hear what he has to say, definitely.
This is Carl. Well, ultimately, Liverpool got everything they deserved. They were meek, they were poor, they were just unsure of themselves. We weren't fast enough, and there wasn't enough quality, and there's reasons for that, and one of them is Newcastle. Newcastle wanted it more, they played better. There's another reason for that, which is Paris Saint-Germain, which took the stuffing out of us. There is another reason, which is the injury to Trent. I like Gerald Quansah. Even Gerald Quansah would say that he's not a right back, and I've got absolutely all the sympathy in the world for him because he's playing against a side that likes to play wide players, and he's not a fullback. That's not his fault. That's not on him. I've got issues with the manager tonight. I think that he needed to rotate more, and we basically were flat because we've been playing too much football. Chiesa and Elliott haven't been playing. I've got huge issues with the number 9 as I've had all season. Because Liverpool need to buy 2 number 9s. Diogo Jota's absolutely shot. He's playing like a player who isn't good enough for Liverpool, and isn't any good for anyone else. I don't know what's happened to him. He's absolutely fell off a cliff. Darwin Núñez, I liked his energy when he came on, but we couldn't get him the ball. But he's not Liverpool's number 9, and that's not going to happen. So I think there's going to be changes made in the summer. The right back is the main one because if Conor Bradley gets injured, Gerald Quansah isn't the right back, which again isn't on him. And it wasn't good enough today from Liverpool. They wanted it more, and I can't be dealing with a Liverpool side that just isn't good enough or doesn't want it more. It's the worst Wembley performance since the FA Cup semi-final of 2015, which was an absolute low point for Liverpool, particularly given what had happened the season before. So not at the races. They've got to pick themselves up. They can't be feeling sorry for themselves and stuff like that. I just don't get it. The manager needs to have a word with himself as well. And I love Arne Slot, and it's ridiculous that I'm criticising him because he's going to win the league. But what's he doing there? Canate off 3 at the back, 75 different forwards on. It just went too jazz for me. That I wasn't happy with any of that at all. There's other incidents as well. Gary Neville, bloody hell! I mean, that's genuinely beyond a joke, and I'm not offended by Gary Neville. I just think it's pathetic, cheering Newcastle goals and refusing to mention once how they're funded because he too has been. I don't know. I can't say that. I don't know if that's correct. But he wasn't overly critical of the Qatari government, was he? So I've got a lot of time for Newcastle fans, the older ones who haven't won a thing. I've got all the time in the world for them. I'm not really getting on board with the Anton Deckness of all this. But they deserve to win the trophy. So no sour grapes from me on that whatsoever. I'm just incredibly disappointed with Liverpool. I think we could have done this week a lot better. And we've been a bit slow and a bit meek. So hopefully they all get pulled out of international duty. That would be really nice. So they can have a good rest before the derby. Just get the league over the line. And then we are going to have to buy big in the summer because there are glaring issues with this squad. It's all right having the first 11, but you need a first 23, and we haven't got that. And we're in a situation now where under Jurgen in the early days, he would have brought on, what was his name? Ben Woodburn. I can't remember his name now. I don't know where he is. We can't be doing that stuff anymore. We didn't have enough in the tank today, and I think the manager got most of that wrong. But we go again. That's what we do. Have a nice long break. There's only league games to go now, so let's get that finished, and let's never speak of this day again. And unless you're Gary Neville, then let's just never speak.
Yeah, to answer his question about Ben Woodburn, he now plays for Salford City. 3 goals and 15 appearances for him this season. I don't know if he's a goal scorer anymore, but there we go. In regards of a striker, well, yes, I think that is a recurring theme from what we're hearing from my colleagues at Daily Liverpool. Who will get in the summer? I have no idea. Wouldn't it be nice if we got Alexander Isak? But I think that's a fever dream. It's way beyond our transfer budget. Knowing FSG, we'll get someone who will be pretty decent for a low fee from a club that we don't watch. No, that's just the way we do things. Anyway, not a criticism at all. And yeah, I think we just end it there. It's been a very painful episode to get out for us here at Daily Liverpool. If you are a rival fan listening, I hope you got all of the joy that you were after, and I got absolutely none. Best of luck to Newcastle for the rest of the season. I hope I don't have to come across them in any finals soon, because they'll be reminding us of that. And that's it for March. On to the 2nd of April, where we face Everton at home under the lights at Anfield. But until then, you've been listening to Daily Liverpool. Take care and enjoy the international break.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.